Protestant necks, but the passage of hundreds of years and a wide, wide ocean ought to have drowned that grudge between us, if anything could. Instead, here I sit, penning a bloodbath. All those children, and not only the children, but grown Irish and Americans and anyone ill-starred enough to be caught in the middle. And I only hope that writing it might go away toward being a fit memorial. When I've spent enough ink, the sharp scratch of the specifics in my head will dull a little, I'm hoping. I'd assumed that the dry wooden smell of October, the shrewd way the wind twines into my coat sleeves now, would have begun erasing the nightmare of August by this time. I was wrong, but I've been wrong about worse. Here's how it began, now that I know the girl in question better and can write as a man instead of a copper star. On the night of August 21st, 1845, one of the children escaped. The little girl was age 10, 62 pounds, dressed in a delicate white shift with a single row of lace along the wide, finely stitched collar. Her dark auburn curls were pulled into a loose knot at the top of her head. The breeze through the open casement felt hot where her nightdress slipped from one shoulder and her bare feet touched the hardwood. She suddenly wondered if there could be a spy hole in her bedroom wall. None of the boys or girls had ever yet found one, but it was the sort of thing they would do. And that night, every pocket of air seemed breath on flesh, slowing her movements to sluggish, watery starts. She exited through the window of her room by tying 3 stolen ladies' stockings together and fixing the end of the lowest catch on the iron shutter. Standing up, she pulled her nightgown away from her body. It was wet through to her skin, and the clinging fabric made her flesh crawl. When she'd stepped blindly out the window, clutching the hose, the August air bloated and pulsing, she slid down the makeshift rope before dropping to an empty beer barrel. The child quit Green Street by way of Prince before facing the wild river of Broadway, dressed for her bedroom and hugging the shadows like a lifeline. Everything blurs on Broadway at 10 o'clock at night. She braved a flash torrent of watered silk. Glib-eyed men in double vests of black velvet stampeded into saloons cloaked from floor to ceiling in mirrors. Stevedores, politicians, merchants, a group of newsboys with unlit cigars tucked in their rosy lips, 1,000 floating pairs of vigilant eyes, 1,000 ways to be caught. And the sun had fallen, so the frail sisterhood haunted every corner. Chalk-bosomed whores desperately pale beneath the rouge, their huddles of 5 and 6 determined by brothel kinships and by who wore diamonds and who could only afford cracked and yellowing paste copies. The little girl could spot out even the richest and healthiest of the street bats for what they really were. She knew the mabs from the ladies instantly. When she spied a gap in the buttery hacks and carriages, she darted like a moth out of the shadows, willing herself invisible, winging across the huge thoroughfare eastward. Her naked feet met the slick, tarry waist that curdled up higher than the cobbles, and she nearly stumbled on a gnawed ear of corn. Her heart leaped, a single jolt of panic. She'd fall. They'd see her and it would all be over. Did they kill the other Kinchin slow or quick? But she didn't fall. The carriage lights veering off scores of plate glass windows were behind her, and she was flying again. A few girlish gasps and one yell of alarm marked her trail. Nobody chased her, but that was nobody's fault, really, not in a city of this size. It was only the callousness of 400,000 people, blending into a single blue-black pool of unconcern. That's what we copper stars are for, I think, to be the few who stop and look. She said later that she was seeing in badly done paintings, everything crude and two-dimensional, the brick buildings dripping watercolor edges. I've suffered that state myself, the not being there. She recollects a rat gnawing at a piece of oxtail on the pavement, then nothing. Stars in a midsummer sky, the light clatter of the New York and Harlem train whirring by on iron railway tracks, the coats of its 2 overheated horses wet and oily in the gaslight. A passenger in a stovepipe hat staring back blankly the way they'd come, trailing his watch over the window ledge with his fingertips. The door open on a sawdusty slaughter shop, as they're called, half-finished cabinetry and dismembered chairs pouring into the street, as scattered as her thoughts. Then another length of clotted silence, seeing nothing. She reluctantly pulled the stiffening cloth away from her skin once more. The girl veered onto Walker Street, passing a group of dandies with curled and gleaming soap locks framing their monocles, fresh and vigorous after a session with the marble baths of Stepani's. They thought little enough of her, though, because of course she was running hell for leather into the cesspit of the 6th Ward, and so naturally...